Hello, 'tis I, your friendly neighborhood Julian Greystoke, here with some more writing advice. Today, I'm going to be filming several writing advice videos, so get used to me in this outfit and with this lighting. It is a gross, rainy, dreary night, so what better time to film some videos? If you are new here, hi, hello. As I mentioned, I'm Julian Greystoke, and I am an indie author and developmental editor, so I like to help out by sharing the knowledge that I have gained along the way to my fellow authors out there in the world. Today, we're going to be talking about one of my favorite things to write and read, banter. Everybody loves banter, right? Well, we like good banter, and sometimes it can be a little bit difficult to tell the difference between good banter and not good banter. Now, before we begin, I always like to remind people that I am not the god of writing. I may have some knowledge that I've gleaned along the way, but that doesn't make me the be-all and end-all expert on things. Around here, it's not my way or the highway. So if I give a piece of advice that just doesn't seem like it's gonna work for you or doesn't make sense for you and your writing journey, don't take the advice. Anyway, let's get on to talking about banter. First of all, let's identify what is banter. What is it exactly? Obviously, we know that it's characters going back and forth, but like, what makes it banter? Well, for me, banter has a certain quality of snappy back and forth. It's not one guy saying a monologue to another guy. It's one guy saying something and someone else having a witty retort, and then the first person firing back with their own witty retort, and you getting to know these characters and their personalities through this snappy back and forth, as well as bonding you to them and them to each other.
Shit! Language!
I think we lost the element of surprise.
No one else is going to deal with the fact that Cap just said language.
I know.
We can disobey suicidal orders. Why wasn't I told?
That's about twice a day.
How about you?
Me? No. Never been.
Really?
Yep.
You'd be good at it. You're both controlling and disapproving.
But what makes good banter? Because anybody can just have characters quip back and forth, but what makes it good? Well, banter isn't just an excuse to have your characters be sassy and quippy, and that's where a lot of authors make the mistake. They think that just because they're having their characters say sassy, quippy lines, that it's good banter. You want to make sure that your banter is in character. So if you've got a character that's not normally sassy or quippy, they don't suddenly become so just for the banter scene. And also, don't forget that just because a character is sassy and quippy sometimes, that they're always down to banter with literally anyone. I have seen so many authors make the mistake of having their main character, who's super quippy, be in a situation that would probably get him killed if he started to banter, and he still starts to banter, either with the bad guy or his friends. And then the author has to come up with some super unrealistic reason why the bad guy doesn't just kill them. They'll be bantering in a throne room in front of royalty, or they'll attempt to banter with the royalty. Places where it feels like you are forcing it because you just feel like you want to show how irreverent and snarky your character is might be bad banter. Good banter feels natural. Good banter comes from the characters and the situation, not just because you really want to have it in there. If it feels like you're forcing it, it's probably not working. But if these characters have chemistry, if they would feasibly be getting along and bantering in this moment, or perhaps argue bantering, that's always fun too. If that feels in character and the moment is right, then yeah, that might be good banter. But we'll kind of talk more about how different factors make banter good or bad as we continue, and just jumping off of what we were just talking about, when to banter is super important. Like I said, for most characters, forcing them to banter in situations that are super dangerous to banter in is a choice. I'm not saying that there are no characters who would do that. Certainly some beloved characters have done that. But I have also seen it with a lot of authors trying to force it because they've got in their head that their main character likes to banter, and it's not working because of the situation. Great times for your characters to banter are when they're journeying. Like say they're walking down the road, they're on the way to somewhere, and you want to let the reader feel the passage of time. Great thing to do, have your characters start bantering with each other. Other times when banter works out well is when they're doing an activity together, from cooking to killing goblins.
That still only counts as one!
Fight scenes are an interesting place to put your banter because sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. It works great if you've got two characters who are bantering while killing faceless foes. A Legolas and Gimli type of situation, if you will, where they're sniping back and forth about their kill count. A time when you don't want them to banter while fighting is while killing the big boss. This is an impactful and important moment against a single powerful enemy. The time for banter is probably not now. Also a great time to banter is romantically, but it doesn't have to be romantic. Some people think that they should only have their characters banter romantically when there's a whole delightful world of banter for your characters to get up to without any romance necessary. Some of our favorite banter moments, if you think about it, are between characters who are not romantically involved. But romantic banter can be a great way to lock us in and make us think that your two characters have chemistry.
Watch where you're pointing that thing. Dirty. Vishantikafas, I meant your weapon.
However, again, there's a time and a place. If your two leads will not stop bantering no matter what is happening to them, you probably need to rethink that. However, if you're having them in some sort of low-stakes battle, for example, or as I mentioned, doing activity together, or flirt fighting, which is ever popular these days, where they're fighting each other for some contrived reason that you've made up for the plot, whatever it is, great time to have them banter, as long as the stakes are fairly low. Having characters banter in really high-stakes moment is a dangerous activity and should mostly be attempted by the professionals. If you're newer at this, maybe lean away from having your characters banter during really high stakes moments. Something that people don't do and need to do more is banter in the bedroom. For some reason, whenever characters start to get frisky, it becomes super serious, and that's boring. Let's have some bedroom banter, people. I'm ready for it. One thing to remember with banter in general is that less is more. There are some books, including ones that are published now, that are like constant banter. For example, Powerless. That author loves to have characters be snarking back and forth with constant banter. And she's not even bad at it, but it is constant. If she had brought it back and only had the characters banter at key moments, it would have been so much more enjoyable than just this onslaught. It drains the seriousness from many a situation. That's something that banter does, is it drains the seriousness from a situation. And so every situation feels like a silly little goof, even ones that should be serious, even ones that are supposed to be getting maybe more romantic. Like there are times when banter doesn't work, and it's great to remember that less is more. If your book is just overflowing with banter, know that it might be more powerful if you cut some of that out. Characters that are serious sometimes and banter other times are more engaging than characters that are always serious or always bantering. Let's talk about some qualities of believable banter. So first of all, a great way to figure out if your banter is working is to try it out loud, especially if you can get another person to read the other lines with you. If you can go back and forth reading the banter out loud and it feels natural, the comebacks feel natural, the conversation flows in a natural way, then it's good banter.
You're using Bonetti's defense against me, huh?
I thought it fitting, considering the rocky terrain.
Naturally. You must expect me to attack with Capaferro.
If you, however, are finding when you're reading it out loud that sometimes you're wondering, like, why did that character say that line? Or how did we get here from there? Then your banter might need a rewrite. And that leads right into my next point, which is to make sure it flows. Make sure that each piece of your conversation leads off of something a previous character said. This is good practice for dialogue in general. Many times I'll see authors so eager to get across what they wanted to get across in this conversation that characters will just jump topics with nothing to have spurred them on to that topic. And you can see it happening in Banter. The conversation should flow like a river, not jump like you're hopping from puddle to puddle. Remember who is bantering and whether it's in character for them to do so. If they're a more reserved character, they might still banter, but only feel comfortable doing so with certain people around. So take that into consideration. And of course, remember, as we talked about, that the quippy character has its downsides. A quippy character who is only that is constantly just bringing the quips and the sass all the time. Eventually, all the other characters and the reader are going to want to punch that person in the face. There you go. Those are my thoughts for writing Banter. Nice short video, but hopefully a helpful one for you if you're looking to get in there and figure out if your banter is working or not, or maybe get started writing some banter. The biggest pieces of advice are make sure it comes from your characters and not because you wanted to cram some banter into a scene. Make sure it's natural and make sure it flows. And like I said, if you're not sure that it is working, you're not positive it's doing all of those things, read it out loud. It might feel silly, but trust me, read it out loud. After all, these are words that you're expecting your reader to believe are things that people would actually say. So if they sound weird coming out of, your mouth, then maybe they're not working. Thanks again so much for watching. Feel free to leave your tips for writing banter in the comments below. Go down to the comments and see if anybody has any more helpful tips that I didn't mention here in this video. And of course, you can check out my books available now on Amazon. My next one is hopefully coming out this year. It will be the sequel to Adventurer Mage. I don't know when it's coming out, but hopefully this year sometime. I have lots of writing advice videos here on this channel, so go check out more of those if you want more tips and tricks. And if you are looking to go more in depth with your work, as I mentioned, I'm a developmental editor, and you can hire me now on Fiverr. Shoot me a message and we'll talk, discuss, and decide if I would be a good fit for your book. But anyway, I hope that you have an excellent day and happy writing, and I will see you again next time with whatever it is I happen to be doing next time, which, spoilers, is going to be more writing advice. Bye!
I couldn't do this without you, Garrus.
Sure you could. Not as stylishly, of course.
You know who helps me do everything stylishly? My patrons. Patrons like Moon Island, Corey, Ashley, Bunny, Nemo the Sorcerer, Tactical Hot Dog, Haley History Nerd, Stephanie, Pixelizzy, Rhea, Christina, Cameron, Lady Kragan, Jose, Lunar Muse, AJ, Marshy, Semi-Dark, GK, Scout, Annika, Jen, Gay Tutter, Tina, Black Nunga, SB Boots, Martha Baggins, July, Bird Anonymous, Sarah, Kat, 78 kilograms of shade, Ingrid, Roma, Haley, Sam, Kira, Kohikaro, Mooney, Kirsten, Bear, Jojo Bookish, Robin, Ursula, Caitlin, Jessica, KJ, Mufflier, Celia, Deborah, Swamp Goblin Waifu, Sophia, Merween, Kit, Hidden Glade, Light Julie, Patrick, Anne Sophie, Callison, Vampire Antihero, The Oracle of Shelfi, Zaire, Jesper, Rennie, Scribbling Cat, Savvy, Jenny, and Amanda. Thanks so much for always having my back, everybody.